So I'm Jerome, one of the co-founders of Creatext, and what we do is we help sales teams write better sales messages through deeper and quicker personalization.
So I want to talk today a lot about your product development so far with Creatext and how that's gone over the last few years. You're still in very early stages, but you've come a long way from a few years ago. So the first question I have is if you can tell me what the biggest problem your product team is facing right now at this moment at the time of filming.
Yeah, so I think that the biggest problem, and I'm sure a lot of like early stage startups can relate, is making fast progress, but with very low resources in terms of team size, in terms of access to certain things. And so I think it's really about very hard prioritization. There's a lot of things where we have to make bets and make sure, okay, this is where we go, and we'll just try it out and and then quickly iterate, I think.
Yeah.
And all of that with a small team, I think, is very challenging because you really have to be focused in that sense.
And do you think quickly iterating is the kind of solution to that, just being agile?
Yeah, so I think quickly iterating, adapting to, because the quicker you are to adapt, the earlier you can already start shipping something. You can say it's fine, we can adapt if we are wrong. You can be quicker in testing something out, quickly running a feature, and then after 1 week saying, okay, that was a mistake, and quickly taking it back. So I think there's a lot of, the more dynamic, I think the better we can make progress faster without having to first say we need to evaluate this for too long and we need to spend a lot of time testing out different things. Sometimes I think what helps us move fast is to just go for it and then quickly adapt if it was a wrong move, I guess.
So if you had a magic wand, if there's one thing in your product development so far over the last few years that you could do again, if you could do over, what would you change?
Yeah, so I think in the very early days, so a few years ago, we did a lot of not talking enough to users. I think that's a standard problem that a lot of people face. And together with that, not testing things and getting feedback fast enough. Yeah. So for a lot of times in the very early days, we would focus on, okay, let's build it. But I think the most important is getting it in front of users. And for that, sometimes it might also be getting, for example, using the Wizard of Oz methodology. So, for example, testing something a bit with a fake backend or with us in the backend, just to validate things faster and to be quicker on the, okay, we have first indications of this, let's move forward, instead of first building out the details and staying on the high level.
So for those who might not know, including, I guess, me here, the Wizard of Oz methodology is this kind of man behind the curtain, mechanical Turk. You almost like fake some features, test it with people, and then see if that looks good. Okay.
Exactly. Cool. So I think especially in the very early days, especially as a startup, I guess you can afford to mess up things, right? And so I think it's okay in the beginning to have a human in the back end testing, like replying as an AI, for example. That's what we did in the early days. Or maybe similarly to hard code things in the beginning. So engineers don't like to hard code things. But I think in very early product testing, just quickly hard coding something and testing how the users interact with it and what they think about it, I think can bring so much value and save you years, right, of developing something that people don't want. That's something I would probably do earlier and start earlier doing these, like quickly hard coding something or quickly doing a Wizard of Oz test with a feature before developing a big AI model to do something.
Sure. So with this newfound knowledge that you have, how now do you prioritize features for your product?
Yeah, so given that we are a small team, I think for us it's also very much about what kind of skill set do we have that can match the different problems we have. And so in that sense, where can we have very quick user impact? Where can we spend a few days that will immediately have output on the user? So that's, I think, what we focus on most. So obviously there's also this thing about, okay, this is very short term, so we still have to obviously every now and then look into the future and think, okay, how does that impact the product in 3 months and 6 months? But other than that, I think we try to really focus on, okay, we talk to users. What do they say? Okay, what are the different metrics that we have on user behavior? Okay, let's quickly make something where we are more or less certain that this will bring some value to the user.
Okay. So my last question then is, give me your tool of choice right now to recommend to all the other product owners, developers, designers out there.
Yeah, so something I think that goes along with launching things quickly. So something that really helped us a lot was Launch Darkly. One of our tech mentors recommended that. And we've been using it quite a lot. So it allows you to have a switch, a toggle in the back end, where you can have a feature activated or not. You can activate it for certain users or not. And most important for us, you can quickly switch it off if something goes wrong. And so that helped us be less scared of launching, having a feature already deeply in the product code. And just by clicking on and off, we can quickly test it for some users. We can say, okay, all the Creatext internal email addresses are already activated. We can test it. And at the same time, if after a week, we're like, oh God, that is not working, we can very quickly switch it off. And that way move forward faster.
And that's Launch Darkly.
Yes, Launch Darkly. Yeah, I think it's also quite cheap. But I think we pay I don't know, a few $10 a month. I'm not sure, something in the low two digits.
Easy. Okay, thank you so much for your time today, Jérôme.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Insightful as always.
Yeah, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great day.